Broadcast is live.
Hi, everybody. Take it away, Daniel.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Bob. Good evening, Chris. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing well.
Doing good.
Fantastic. Chris, thank you for on and joining us tonight. When I reached out to you and asked you if you'd come, absolutely excited to have you say yes. And here we are. What I wanted to congratulate you on your New England sectionals win. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Once a year we have the indoor sectionals. We have the outdoor sectionals. Last weekend we had the indoor sectionals. It's held in 3 different locations this year. And so we shoot for a score. It's a NFAA 300 round with the 5 spot or a single spot. And we turn in a score. Mine was a 300 with 56 out of 60 X's. And I tied my own record 3 times now. Couldn't quite get that 57. I was going on a 57 on the very last arrow, and all I thought about was, wow, I just shot a 57. Boom, and I shot a 5. So another 300 with 56. It felt good.
So on the very last arrow, out of all those X's, you shot a 5.
Yes, I didn't shoot my shot. My shot sequence is a lot of mental control over the shot process, focusing on the middle of the X, thinking about the middle of the X. It's about a 5 to 6 second shot process. I didn't do it on the last arrow. I just looked at it and go, yeah, I was thinking about the final arrow and being done with it and being happy with what I shot. And I hit a 5, a nice big fat 5. The other X's I missed were just out. But it just goes to show if you don't focus and stay into the shot, whether it be on a target or a deer or a bear, it's liable not to go exactly where you want it.
Well, let me jump in here for a minute because that
Yep.
you've got my mind thinking here. How much of it is mental and how much of it is physical? And when I say physical, I mean rote memory, just repetition over and over, so you have that ingrained muscle memory versus the thought process involved with the shot.
99% mental. 99. They say 90%, 10%. No. Once you get your form down, your form, not what's by the book, but your form, repeatable form. The bow is set up and tuned to the best of your ability or your coach's ability or whatever. The rest of it's mental. You have to stand there and shoot the shot. So once you get into physical things, get the full draw, do your checklist in your mind. The rest of it's all mind control over the process. Everyone has a different process. There are aimers and there are pullers. You know, you just think about the front half or you think about the back half, but you can't think about both. Everyone has to find out what works for them. But the bottom line is stay with your shot process. Whatever that might be, refine that. It's all mental. It's all up here.
Same for target as well as hunting?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
So what's your...
My shot is my shot is my shot. I don't vary it. It's all the same, whether it's a turkey, a deer, a bear, outdoor fields, 3D, indoors. My shot process is my shot process at full draw. I switch to killer mode and I make it happen. I allow the bow to shoot itself. I'm zoned in where I want the arrow to be, and I'm letting my body do the shot.
What is your thought process? What are the steps you go through?
Well, other than the normal, take your stance and come back to full draw and all that stuff to get in alignment, that has a lot to do with the bow's draw length, the holding weight, all that mechanical stuff. But my thought process, it's like turning your head around in that movie with the arm wrestling. You turn into a different person. So what I do when I come to full draw, I just kind of go into the mode. I zone in on where I want that arrow to be. And then, as you say, muscle memory or thinking about the shot and being relaxed enough mentally, particularly that last second, and pulling through a nice clean shot. I talk to myself as a mantra. Middle, middle, middle. Sometimes I'll say pull, pull, pull. That changes day to day. Depends on what kind of day I had working or what kind of day I had walking out in the woods, and am I huffing and puffing? Am I sore? That changes, and you have to have the ability to adapt. Sometimes you can just zone in and pull the shot. Sometimes you got to really focus through the shakes. Just let it shake and shoot. Depends on what's in front of you. The ability to adapt and change is what makes a great archer. And
So you mentioned the shakes, and I think that's obviously you're under a lot of pressure when you're in competition, but it's a whole different world out there. You're at the range, everything's calm, you have time, you can relax, there's not a lot of distraction. When you're out in the woods and all of a sudden old Mossy Horn steps out, and that's the deer that you've been waiting for all season or for the last 3 seasons.
I treat that the same as a good shot. If you ever done competition, there's a lot of pressure that you put upon yourself. There's no one standing next to you yelling and screaming at you, putting pressure on you. There's no one standing behind you going, "Hey, if you get this last arrow, you shot a perfect score." You're gonna move and shake. It's the last second mental control, being able to relax those muscles not needed in the shot. If your bow is set up right where you're on bone to bone form, there's less muscles involved, less that adrenaline is going to affect and shake things. Your bow has to be weighted down enough to get the little vibration shakes out. A lot of archers will shoot a bow that's too light. The mass weight is too light. So when they do get excited, that thing is just buzzing all over the place. You have to have enough mass weight. I like about 6.5 to 7 pounds. A lot of pros will shoot 8 to 10 pounds of mass weight. That's if you just hung the bow up on a scale. They'll shoot 8 to 10 pounds. Well, I'm 65 years old. I'm not going to be holding up that kind of weight. I don't hold that much weight back. All of my competition bows have the same feel as my hunting bow. So what I'm used to holding is exactly what I'm holding on my hunting bow. I don't change anything. It's all the same. So my body is used to that shot. And I weigh it down enough for stabilizer weights in the proper places. So I get that buzzing out. So it's just a mild float. What controls the adrenaline of seeing that big buck is experience, knowing when to calm yourself down and make the shot. It's like, Chris, you got this. That deer let me come to full draw. It's dead. Confidence. Settle, execute, dead deer. You change anything, you're all ramped up, you're going to shoot and say, why did I do that? Why didn't I take an extra second, calm my mind down, and make the shot? That applies target, deer hunting, bear, everything. It's up here.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's
when
Go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead, Bob.
No.
No, really. Go ahead, both of you. Same time.
when I visited you guys down at Lakeside to take our course, so one of the things that jumped out at me is that you really can shoot through some amazing distraction. I mean, the walls could be falling down around you, and you have your thought process to the point where you can pretty much shoot through just about anything. What did it take to get you to that? Is it just years and years and years, or do you do anything different mentally?
I practice with Mountain Dew, caffeinated coffee, radio's on loud. I'll have someone stand next to me close and watch. Uh, I'll practice that high stress situations. I hunt a lot. I've been shooting a bow since 1958 when I was a little boy. Uh, so it's part of me. The bow is part of me. The more you put yourself into tournament situations, now I flew to Albuquerque. I did a world championship down there. I got a silver medal. Uh, I seem to enjoy and do best when there's larger crowds, a high tense situation, because that makes me focus on each and every shot. That's how important it is to have a good mental plan.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Probably a lot of people, myself for sure. Um, I don't necessarily like to shoot in front of a crowd. I don't like that pressure of somebody looking over my shoulder, even if it's just for fun. But it sounds like it's the best thing that you can do.
It is. It definitely is. It helps you on a 3D circuit. I've talked to many archers like, wow, I just got nerved up. Why'd you get nerved up? Well, everyone's watching me. So, well, if you're in the woods, there's going to be a herd of deer watching you try to shoot one. Put yourself into those high tense situations as much as you possibly can. Even if it's just you and your buddy. Let's say Dan and Bob, you're shooting together. Wager a 20. Who's going to buy dinner that night? Who scores the best. Put yourself into high tense situations and learn to control through that. That's the good advice. When I draw back on a deer or a bear, mentally, I'm home free because it let me get to full draw. So that relaxes my mind, which relaxes the tense muscles in your neck and shoulder. And so you get in alignment. Now it's just make your shot, Chris. Just focus, boom. And that's it. You can pick a spot low. You can think about, branches in the way. If you don't have a good mental game plan for hunting or target, things won't go as planned. Too many variables there. As long as you shoot your shot, you're fine.
Okay, so you're talking about the kind of the end game. When my son was starting out bow hunting, I could teach him how to shoot and all that, but I think one of the hardest things for me to teach him, to explain to him, was how to get when and how to get from at rest to full draw. So walk us through that.
Like I was in a tree stand kind of thing?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing you got to be is a woodsman. You got to know the habits of the deer and all this other stuff. And by watching deer so often, you can tell when they're semi-relaxed, the tail twitch, you can tell when the deer's somewhat relaxed. If you can see the deer's eyes, they can see you. And it's never the deer you're aiming at is what's going to screw you up. It's the other deer. Mm-hmm. So whenever I'm in a tree stand and I see deer movement, I freeze. First thing you do is freeze. Stop. If you're picking your nose, I don't care what you're doing, pissing in the bottle, freeze. Second thing is look for another deer. Don't be so involved with that one deer you just saw that you can't glance around slowly and find, okay, there's very rarely just one deer all by itself. there's usually, another deer nearby or whatever. Now, as long as you're comfortable with that, get yourself into position. Yes, your heart rate's gonna, pound a little bit. Embrace that and feel the excitement. Don't feel the fear. Turn that into something positive, like yes, here we go. I'm gonna do this. Turn it into something confident. Watch, learn, make slow, subtle movements, whether it's getting your bow off the hook and then down. Watch with your eyes, not your head and body. Learn what it takes to come back to full draw. When starting out, I would suggest wait for the deer's head to be behind trees, or if it's in a field, when it turns and starts to lick its side. But all your actions are done slow, very slowly, even the drawback. I have my bows set at about 58.5 pounds. I can pull that back, straight back, slowly. I can even stop halfway, come back, come back, come back to full draw. Take that breath, and as you let some of it out, you let all the tension out. Another thing I would suggest to him would be go out in the summertime, climb a tree stand, watch deer, pretend that you're coming back to full draw. Pretend you have a bow. I've done that for years. Be around deer. Watch them. A lot of times we'll see deer and we automatically go for the kill shot. We automatically, okay, I'm going to kill this, blah, blah, blah. So you don't watch enough deer. Back when I was, big buck hunting, having fun, because I already got some in the freezer. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to kill this one particular buck. I would let deer go by. Real hard to do. I'm a deer hunter, and I can't stand to see meat walk by. I want to kill it. I want to get in the freezer. But sometimes I got to take my bow up, and I'll watch, during the season. But in the summertime, you can go out there. There's no law that says you can't go out into the woods with a tree stand and film deer or pretend that you're coming back to full draw on the deer. You can do that year round. The more you get to the deer, the better it is. Going to Gray Game Farm, looking at angles and where the muscles are, where the bones are. Get to learn a little bit more of the anatomy. The more you're around deer, live deer in the woods, the calmer you're going to be, because it's just a deer. A deer's a deer. Nothing magical about it. The deer's a deer. They have the same habits. They do the same thing. It's a deer. Just like a muskrat's a muskrat. I was lucky to start way back in the early 60s trapping muskrats and coon and tracking deer through the woods. I see a track, I want to follow it. So I'm a trapper, first off. So that's bow hunting is close combat. It's one thing to sit at the field edge with a 0.6 and like, oh, yeah, I got that at 280 yards. Well, good for you. That's not hunting, that's shooting. Scout close, get to learn the habits. Why are they going this way? Most of the tracks are going one way. Why? Walk them back. This is before the season or in the springtime. You can find trails in the woods in the spring, what they're doing last fall. So that's when I do my scouting. I'll bring my climber, a few dead trees that might have fallen down. I'll get them out of the way. And I won't go back to that spot till I hunt it. Simple as that. And I'll do that to about 100 places. Everything's for my little lone wolf climber or a ground blind or whatever. But the more you're around deer, the better you're going to be. Learn when to draw, because they got good eyes. They can see, 280 degrees? But if you move quick, you're going to spot that and duck and go. I can have a deer standing there looking at me, feeding, and I can move super slow, and won't spook them at all. I've come back to full draw on deer that are standing broadside looking at me. I just said, well, if I don't draw, I'm not going to get them. So I'm going to draw. Right?
Yeah.
I turn.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah. I put
that was one of the hardest things for me, because being experienced, I just knew. I don't know why or how, but I knew when it was time to draw,
Right.
and to try to explain that to somebody new. So that's very helpful.
Yeah.
So now we're at full draw. The deer is there.
Yep.
And we hear this phrase, pick a spot. Talk about that.
Excuse me. I'm going to want to know the distance first. I like, using my 20-yard pin. That's my go-to pin. If I don't have time to move my sight, I know my trajectory. But when it's in my range where I want to shoot that deer, where I know there's no branches hanging down, towards night, those branches become invisible. So you think you can shoot a deer further out and you can't. So you got to know what your effective range is and say, oh, I'm going to have to wait for this deer to come right over here between that white birch and this pine tree. That's my kill zone. I'm going to have to wait. And that's a 23-yard shot. I always aim low, always, because the deer invariably will react. Many times they don't. But I always aim at the heart. I come up on the deer, up from the bottom on the deer.
Good point.
On a target, I come down. I let gravity, be down. I'm on the target. But when I hunt, I want that deer to be in my vision the whole time. So I'm not going to draw above it and block it and come down, because in an excitement, when I was younger, I'd have multiple pins. And as soon as that first pin hit that deer, I let her rip. Well, that was my 50-yard pin. It's already going to sail over the deer about 3 or 4 feet. Then you say, why'd I do that? Right? You come up on the deer and settle in that little pocket where the heart is. And then you execute your shot. If he moves, you got him anyway in a good lung area. If he doesn't move, you got him in the heart. It's a win-win. Always come up on the deer. And if you get excited, and as soon as that pin hits, poof, the shot breaks, you're going to still kill it. You come down on the deer. Most people will stop midway, go, that's beautiful, poof, and shoot. No, because he'll react and you'll get him in no man's land. You'll skip over on the bones above the spine. It's just a bad thing to do. Come up about a quarter way up and execute your shot. Nice and smooth. I don't drop the bow quick because he sees movement. You might as well wave at the deer, right?
Yeah.
You can see that movement. They're going to react to it real quick. So everything's done slow. Even my shot, my bow always goes forward and my arm comes straight back. I freeze. I'm still looking at the deer running away, but I'm still like this, hold my bow up, and then I let it down. That comes from experience.
Yeah, and follow through. I know that's a
Definitely
really important part of.
I see guys that'll just whip that bow down to see where the arrow land, and that movement caused the deer to jump more so than the arrow. The bow going off is the movement.
Yeah, and just the tendency to do that can affect your shot.
Yeah, you have to have a straight push towards your target, and don't let the bow drop. Don't give movement. Don't give them away before the arrow gets there. Very important.
There's also that I like to call that hunter's follow, staying right there and watching that deer go before you automatically come down. Because
Exactly.
if you come down just after you release that shot, your eye follows your bow. So you're automatically looking at your bow and you're not seeing where that deer is running. So by holding that hunter's follow through and watching where that deer goes, you're actually doing a couple of different things. Like you said, you're not jumping that deer or alerting that deer with that quick jumpy movement, but you're also maintaining that hold so you can watch where that deer goes.
Yeah. And a lot of times I've gotten a second deer that I've shot the first one, I'm frozen, and I'm watching the deer take off. Then I glance over there at this 4 or 5 that were coming in, and they're standing there looking at Junior running away. And I go, look at that. And then I get another arrow out, and I always have one out from my quiver for a second arrow. And I'll slowly load that. And they're right there. And I'll slowly, very slowly load that, get my release on, and I'll shoot a second deer. Now, if I was to make a lot of movement, those deer would screw and run. This happened to me several times. And that's what saved me, was the fact that I stood there like a statue after the shot, and just glanced at the deer and followed it like that. Then I glanced over and I was like, oh, those suckers didn't run off. I got 3 tags.
Yeah, and even if you make that, even if there's only one and you make that shot, it can save you a lot of time on the follow up. If the deer isn't alarmed, you have a greater chance of just watching it drop.
Right,
You
exactly.
know where to look for it right away.
Yeah.
And there's no greater satisfaction, I think, for a bow hunter than to watch a deer drop after the shot.
5 deer I shot last fall, I watched them all drop, every one within probably 60 yards. And I was still holding my bow up and I watched them. And I watched every one drop. Good shot placement with a good muzzing. Go right through them. Blood on both sides. They'd run 3 seconds. You count to 3 and they'll drop every time. 1001, 1002, 1003, dead. You know as well as I. You're a hunter. A good shot, count to 3, they're dead. Now some run fast. They go a little further. But it's always at 3 seconds. After a good shot, count to 3. You're a crash.
Now, you all the way back in 1958 with your your little stick and string. When did you actually, and how did you get your start bow hunting? Traditional bow hunting. How did you get your start?
Well, it's all we had back in the 60s. They didn't have compounds until later on. Actually, I shot, wooden arrows, of course. Everyone shot wooden arrows, particularly a kid. And I'd have the rubber blunts, and I'd bounce arrows off deer sitting in the apple tree in the backyard. In the summertime, I would be, bouncing arrows off deer. Legal or not, I don't care. That's what my dad, go sit in a tree. The more you get used to the deer, I can still hear his words. The more you get used to drawing back, practice, slow. And he was a bow hunter. That's why I get into it. When I was 2 or 3 years old, shooting his big 70-pound longbow, but I only pulled it back about so far. And, then I got my first one in 1960. It was a Bear fiberglass longbow. But yeah, it was 66, 67. Actually went bow hunting legally. Now we had some deer that were just eating our stuff in our garden out back. So my dad says, "I want you to shoot one of those deer. What are you going to do?" Your dad says, "You got to kill one of those deer. You got to kill one of those deer." You don't tell your daddy no. So probably my first one with a recurve was way back. Way back, mid-60s.
All right. Well, you already you stole a little bit of my thunder. We'd like to do a little thing called rapid fire. So I'm going to fire some questions at you quickly, short answers. What was your first bow?
First one I owned?
Yeah.
That was a Bear fiberglass longbow. I got that at Christmas on 1960, I believe it was. I was 4 or 5 years old.
Okay. Fixed or mechanical?
I'm a fixed 4-blade Muzzy guy since they came out. I've shot multitude of mechanicals for my own reasons. And if I had time, I'd explain why. But I have my bows tuned that I can shoot mechanical. I can shoot my Muzzy fixed blade or a field point in the same dot up to 80 yards. So in my quiver, I'll have a couple of expandables. I'll have a target, practice point for my bag, and I'll have a few of my Muzzy fixed. So I can shoot anything I want out of my bow, and it's going to hit the same dot. Depends on the terrain and where I'm hunting.
What are you shooting now for a hunting bow?
Same one I've had for probably 7 or 8 years now because it's so accurate. I'd hate to give it up. It's a Bowtech Carbon Knight. Mm-hmm. I owned probably a dozen brand new Elites, PSCs, you name it, I got it. But that hunting bow of mine is a killer, and it's just smooth to draw, very fast, rated 325. I blast right through deer and bear at 58 pounds. shooting ACC arrows. I have 4 dozen of them all flexed up and broadheaded up. So at 65, it'll probably last me a lifetime, the rest of my life.
Yeah. Back tension or caliper release?
Never a caliper release. It's a thumb button, Carter thumb button. Same exact one I compete with. I have about 8 of them set at different tensions for different days. My hunting one's very, very soft. I took it apart and quieted it down so there's no heavy snap to it. It's whisper quiet. It's the exact same feel as on tournament shooting. It's the exact same release. Same one.
Bucket list game species. You could hunt anything. You could pick any hunt to hunt any game in the world. What would it be?
Alaskan brown bear. I love bear hunting. Love the bear hunting.
Yeah.
Deer cannot eat you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a whole different game.
Excitement level there.
And there's not a lot of trees to climb up there.
Right. I've had bears climb my tree that I was in, sniffing my knee when I had just a recurve bow. That puts a little excitement in you too. I didn't think bears could climb a shit-smear tree, but obviously that one did.
Tell us about the first deer you killed.
First deer I killed was about 10 feet, sitting on a branch on an apple tree they were coming into. And I got it through the lungs with probably about a 45-pound recurve with a bear razor head broadhead. It ran probably 50 yards, turned around, looked at me, and dropped dead. That was my first bow kill. First deer kill was with a 30-30 up in
What's wrong with that?
No. That's the first legal ones. Like I said, my daddy said they're ripping our garden and we got to take care of those dozen deer, at least 1 or 2 of them. That's what we had to do, is save our garden.
Yeah, well, a little depredation.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, I know for a fact that you are an avid 30-30 shooter.
Oh, yeah.
Rapid fire question. Favorite?
What was the question? I didn't hear the
Favorite
question.
ammo?
Oh, I shoot 170 grain core lock.
Favorite?
I don't know if you heard that. 170 grain core lock.
Marlin or Winchester?
Oh, it's a Marlin 336. My first one was in '67.
Now,
I probably owned 3 or 4 of them over the years. Should have never got rid of them like the other ones, but
yeah, I shoot the Marlin 336 myself. Now, I already know the answer to this, but bow or 30-30?
what's my favorite?
Yeah,
You got to pick one.
What's my favorite? Oh, bow. Yeah, too easy with a gun to me. I mean, it just seems too easy. I scout my rifle areas just like I do bow hunting, up close and personal, close kill, close combat.
Yeah.
I want to know. I know the areas. I've hunted the same places for 50 some odd years. I know where they go, where they come from. I know everything about where they have the scrapes. They do the same thing every single year. That's why I keep going back to the old property of ours. They do the same thing. I set up in the same spots. They do the same thing. Depends on the moon phase and the weather coming. I know right where to sit. And that comes with knowing the habits of the deer. Got to know when and where to sit based on the weather, the moon phase, things like the hunting pressure, things like that. If I make my loop around, I find where the cars are parked, the trucks are parked, I know where to go.
Now, if you had to pick one thing to give somebody for a piece of advice on how to be a successful bow hunter, what would that one thing be?
Find a coach. Find a good coach that will aid in getting the bow set up properly to the archer, learning what his form or her form is. Like I said, it's not textbook because there's a lot of people that have no necks, long necks, broad shoulders. They can't get into that perfect textbook alignment. My job at Lakeside when I coach the upper level stuff, everybody's different. You got to know the art. You got to know that person enough to see what they can come into an alignment. Because all that matters is from the waist up. To me, okay, you got to be in alignment. The draw link's got to be spot on, and then make it a little short for a hunting bow. If you can't draw that back at a 45-degree angle and come right back to a good anchor point, most of the time it's going to be floating because they're all set for the backyard 20 yards. Well, that's not how you hunt. You always got to make it a little shorter for the hunting shots. And if it is standing straight up, you're more likely going to wear clothing and an arm guard. And if your arm is fully extended out, that string is going to rake along the side and cause your shot to go down. So my hunting bows are about 3/8 of an inch shorter than my tournament bows. And my outdoor field bows are a little on the short side. We have a lot of downhill shots. And I know from my regular ones, like, oh, wow, this thing's like my hand's floating, because you're not always going to stand there at 20 yards at perfect form. Hunting bows got to be a little shorter to make those nice shots that we all get. So my is to find a coach that can set the bow up properly and show them how to use the release properly, everything properly. If you rely on Bubba, you're going to do what Bubba does. And Bubba, the average Joe, is not good enough to coach someone else because they can't figure out what they've done to themselves to make their shot accurate to teach someone else. So a good archery coach is what my recommendation would be. If I was to spend any money, it would be on a coach.
Yeah, I don't think that can be overstated, especially if you have some experience. Don't be proud. You know, you make mistakes, and if you develop bad habits, you retain them, and you're just going to make the same mistakes over and over again. Exactly. About 7 years ago, I had an accident that forced me at however old I was at that point, after a lifetime of bow hunting and gun hunting, to have to switch from right hand to left hand. Now, gun hunting wasn't quite as difficult, but bow hunting was a completely different experience, totally foreign.
Yeah.
But it's part of this process to get to the point. I also took wing shooting lessons, and I had been duck hunting since I was in my early teens. I learned more then than I had in the previous 40 years, and I won't say I became a better wing shot, but I knew how to do it right. So, you know, at whatever I was at that point, mid 40s, I took shooting lessons, and so your point is well taken. Don't be too proud. Get a good lesson from somebody, even if it's, pay the money or find somebody who's qualified.
I have coaches that I rely on to help me out on my form and things like that. The bow situation. Dave Cousins, world champion Dave Cousins. I don't know if you know Dave Cousins, but he's the most decorated archer in the history of the sport. He lives in Standish, and he shoots over at Lakeside often. Right now, he's at Louisville this weekend doing the National Indoor Championships. Good friend, extremely knowledgeable about all things archery. So I'm lucky enough to have someone like that I can bounce some ideas off of. And he's always real busy, so he'll condense everything to a 10-second, do this, okay? And then, okay, and I'll do it. And I was like, wow, that son of a gun, he was right. And I asked a lot of my fellow archers, hey, watch me shoot. Let me know what this is. Here's my phone. I want you to videotape me shooting. Dan, I sent you a couple of videos of my shot process and stuff.
Yep.
But you're never too good to learn. You're never too good to ask for help. It's a learning thing. That's what makes it fun. It would be extremely boring if I knew everything. It didn't like, but it's technology is improving every day. New equipment comes out. I just got to try it. I just love it. You learn things all the time.
You know, and you make a great point about the video you sent me. Why don't you talk about that and try to sum up what game filming yourself shooting can actually do for you?
It tells me, is my back, elbow, shoulder alignment proper? Is my stabilizer going straight to the target? In other words, is it at full draw? Is my arrow right over my stabilizer? Or do I need to angle it left or right? It has a lot to do with the follow through. I might, on some of my elite bows, I can change the draw length by a 1/4 inch at a time. 1/4 inch, not a big 1/2 inch, but a 1/4 inch. I'll say, once you film me with this, I want to see what kind of screen contact I have on my face. I want to see what my alignment gets into. Sometimes the film will show that the draw length of the bow is spot on, but my loop is too short. I need to lengthen my loop to put my hand in a proper spot to get my scapula preloaded in a proper spot. A lot of times it's just an 1/8 of an inch difference in a loop length will get you in alignment better. You have to be in alignment. So filming is really the only way. I can stand there and shoot. Oh, geez, I wonder what I look like at full draw. I don't know that until someone films me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I can time my shots. I'll take 3 or 4 shots. I want to see my cadence. I want to see, is it taking me 5, 6 seconds? Or did I hold for 15 seconds on one shot and 3 seconds on another? That's not a cadence. That's not your shot. I like to have my shot a certain length. When the oxygen is in my system, my eyes are clear. Lactic acid is not built in my muscles to shake. So my body, at the time I come to full draw, unless I really have to wait on a deer, and then I'm not into a shot, I'm just holding it down low like this because I'm only holding 8 pounds with my hunting bow, and I can hold it all night, all day long. And then once the deer steps out, then I can get into my shot. All right. So filming will tell you what your shot sequence is, from shot to shot to shot to shot. Your shot. Once you develop your shot, you refine it. That becomes your shot. So once you come to full draw and it's go time, you have so many seconds where you're in a comfort zone. You have a lost zone, which is shooting too quick. You have a comfort zone, then you have another lost zone, danger zone. Okay, so you get a danger zone, you get a comfort zone of so many seconds, and then a lost zone. That's when everyone overholds and they liable to do a drive-by shooting. And if you shoot too quick, you haven't settled in and gotten alignment yet. So everyone has a comfort zone. Depends on their age and their muscle structures and everything else. But I know what mine is. I don't know what yours is, Dan, or yours is, Bob. But everyone has a comfort zone. They feel comfortable executing their shot. When everything is clear and you haven't reached that point of overholding and shaking, that's your shot you need to refine.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of the best shooters in the world have in common. You know, we're up there on that line and talking a little bit more about target archery, but the same can be applied to hunting, is that they have that rhythm and timing. And yes, what it is for one person is completely different in the next individual.
Yep. I've known people that will hold for a good 10 or 15 seconds and make beautiful shots. I've seen others come to full draw and within 3 seconds, the shot breaks. It's already there. Why hold it in the middle and execute too long? You know, everyone's different. You have to find your comfort zone, yep, your comfort shot. Everybody's different. What works for me might not work for you and you. You got to find your own by way of a coach. What else you got for me? Come on, come on, come on.
Well, if you have
I,
it,
one eye or both eyes open when you shoot?
I have to close my left eye because I'm left eye dominant real bad, and I can't do anything left-handed. I've tried. I bought left-handed bows, and I just close my eye. I've been doing that since I was a kid. BB gun, I close my left eye. My bow, I close my left eye. Everything, I close my left eye. I'm used to it. That's my shot. Uh, I'm not going to deviate from that. I'm too old. I've done it for too long.
Yeah, I learned to shoot with both eyes open, just because it allowed me to get the acquire the target with my pin with my dominant eye, and then the other eye was still watching. So I didn't have a tendency to look around my peep, but I no longer can do that. So now my sight picture is about that big.
Yep. My whole world is seen through my peep. That's that change I was referring to before, where you take your hat, turn it around, you do an arm wrestle, and you change it to a different person. When I come to full draw and I close my left eye, the whole world is seen through the peep. I'm in kill mode then. My whole mental game is like game on. When I close my left eye, you better watch out. If I'm going to kill something, whether it's an X or a deer or bear, when I close that left eye, something's going to happen. That's the way I feel.
I'm going to have to jump off here. Go ahead, guys. Keep continuing.
All right. Well, I'm out of questions. This has been incredibly informative. You know, I haven't been doing this quite as long as you have, but I'm not too far behind you either. And I
You're
learned
old
a lot.
just like me, man. You're old just like me.
Yeah, I've learned a lot tonight, and recalled a lot too. You know, it's helpful to talk to people. It's helpful to get advice. Like you said, it's just I think this will be very helpful, especially for people who are kind of new, or genuinely new to archery, and even just target shooting. Start with it in the backyard. Shoot. The more you shoot, the better. Develop that muscle memory, and all the other tips you said. You know, find your comfort zone.
Yep.
This has been great.
Well, good. I've enjoyed myself. I can talk all night about archery and stuff. I enjoy it.
Yeah, and
I volunteer my time at Lakeside almost every day. I just enjoy it, enjoying helping the people, and I do get 15 minutes or 20 minutes to shoot every now and then.
Okay.
But I just love helping people.
Yeah, well, you obviously have a passion for the outdoors and a passion for archery. We appreciate it. I think that's it's probably helpful for a lot of people to hear that here you are, winner of all these archery tournaments, but whenever you can, you still seek the help of a professional. So,
Oh, definitely, yeah. So
you're
I
never too good.
want to get better. I always want to get better. Just for me, it's me and my quarry, where there's a deer or bear target. I want to get better. I'm never going to be perfect. I want to get better, 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 better.
And you owe it to the animal, especially if you're going to go out there and try to kill an animal. Then you owe it to make the best effort, put the best effort forward.
We all had shots that deflected off a twig that we didn't see, and then experience will tell me by either seeing the hit or seeing the arrow, how long to wait. Do I go after it? Do I wait? Do I do this? That's just second nature to me. I feel very calm about saying, no, I'm going to get that. I'll get that in the morning. If the coyote gets it, so be it. But I'm not going to chase it to the next county. It's going right over in that swamp about 200 yards away, and it's going to be right there in the morning, kind of thing. That's experience.
Yeah, and that's a whole. We could talk for another hour about just that, just about the reaction at the shot and the decisions you make right after that.
Definitely, yeah. Yep.
Well, I'm hoping Daniel will come back here before we cut out. What about you teach archery? You have an opportunity to spend a lot of time with people.
Yep.
What are the maybe 1, 2, or 3 most common mistakes or form flaws that you see people make? And I'm talking about, let's talk about bow hunters who
Yep.
are shooting.
Yep. They're grabbing the bow like a fist. Their draw length is wrong. They're slamming the release. Most of the time, they're having a wrist strap finger type of thing. They don't shoot properly at all, or it's got too much play or whatever. The bows are not tuned up. They have 10 pins in their sight instead of just one, maybe two. Most of it's the grip, and they put a lot of cheek in. There's the form flaws. The bows, you're trying to shoot the bow based on where that peep is, instead of putting the peep where it belongs on once the draw length and the grip is.
Right.
That's all form flaws, and it's a common thing I see. Okay, you got to hold the bow this way, but you can't grab that bow. You got a lot of torque. You're going to hit your arm. That's going to change this draw length immediately. So people are trying to shoot the bow that their buddy gave them, or they bought it online, or they just went down to Cabela's and said, "Yep, this is good enough. Here you go. It's all set," and it's an inch and a half too long or too short. It's not right. Those kind of things. I can spot within just a few seconds. I'll have them. I want you to shoot 3 arrows, and I'm just going to stay here and watch it. And I'll pick up 10, 12 things, and I'm going to work on it.
Well, if you don't, if you're still willing to give it a shot,
that's an important one. Because what happens when you versus an open hand? What happens when you grip a bow? It turns.
Yes, torque.
It torques. And then
you don't have the same forward pressure if your hand's not in the right spot. Right, the base of the thumb, right behind the twin bones of your forearm, where you're putting the forward pressure. If you have it any other way, you're going to have muscles involved, different muscles in your hand. Torquing the bow one way or the other, you're going to have shots sprayed all over the place. Particularly with the fixed blade broadhead, my God, you're going to miss by 1.5 feet just because you're grabbing a bow like this. That's probably the most important thing. Is step number one I work on, other than looking at quickly on their draw length, is that grip, and show them why and how we do it properly. And that right off the bat will take a 6-inch group at 20 yards, make it into a 1-inch group, pretty much just by changing the grip.
Okay, you mentioned punching the trigger.
Yeah.
Let's call that target panic. What are some ways to alleviate target panic?
Step number one is to build your bow to hold as steady as possible. That step number one has got a lot of sub steps to it. Draw length, holding weight, what type of cam system it has, the grip, the exact draw length, the exact holding weight, and the balance of the bow dictated by stabilizer weight, forward and rear, starting from there.
Okay, what about the mental side? How do I stop myself from? I get to the point I'm at full draw. I'm starting to get nervous. I'm not. The deer is. I need one more step. The deer steps out now. How do I resist the temptation to just punch that? How do I slow down?
Take a deep breath and realize, hey, I'm getting over ramped. Recognize when you are ramped up. I call it ramped up. Recognize that you are ramped up. Take a breath. Let somebody else say, it's just a deer.
Mm-hmm.
What am I so ramped up about? I'm going to shoot this deer. Turn it into a positive thing instead of fear. You're afraid to miss is what the problem is. You're afraid you got the deer.
I appreciate that.
You won't get the shot. You're afraid. Turn that into something positive. I'm going to kill that deer. I'm going to make the nice shot right there. I'm going to automatically
outstanding.
Hear something more positive that you will you will make that shot, and that alone relaxes you. There's nerves on a target tournament wise is fear of missing the X.
Yep.
Instead of calming down and going, I can shoot that X. I've shot thousands of X's, thousands of them. I
That
can
sounds
admit
good.
that. And
All
then,
right, Woody. Thank you.
yeah, I've shot hundreds of deer. It's just a deer. I'm going to kill the deer. Shaking buck fever stuff is afraid of missing. Oh my God. Oh, I'm afraid it's going to run away. I got to shoot it now. All that mental game has got to be, the more you do it, the better you're going to become. The more you put yourself in high stress 3D shoots with a lot of people, indoor tournaments, outdoor field shoots, that's really going to test your ability to shoot uphill, downhill, side hill with people watching you, knowing that they're standing there with binoculars looking at your shots. And you know that. You got to block it out, just like you got to block out that buck fever you got on this deer. I've shaken more on some small does than I have on a buck, because a big buck is like a tournament. I have to force myself to block that fear away, calm down, and make that shot. I watched the doe come in from 100 yards, and by the time they got to me, I was one nervous wreck. It's like, what the hell am I doing? Just a deer. So then I turned it around to something positive, took that cleansing breath, and I made my shot. That last second, calm down mentally, make the shot, turn it into something positive. You're shaking
Yeah,
because you're afraid of missing, you're afraid the deer's going to move, you're afraid of everything. Turn that fear into something positive and calm, like that.
and
That's
like you said,
something to work on.
it comes with experience. When I started, I was a madman. I was flinging arrows everywhere.
Yeah,
I couldn't. Once I got to full draw, I had to let go. I just
yeah.
and I shot at deer. I didn't shoot at a spot on a deer. I shot at a
Right.
deer.
Eyes wide
And
open.
missed a lot of deer. But as
Yep.
time went by and I gained more experience,
Yeah.
you get to a point where it's just like a calm comes over you, and there's a moment. And
That's it.
um,
That's it. Right there.
I got into that point, and then I didn't realize it until I was hunting with somebody else. We were on a hog hunt, and he said, let's. A bunch of hogs came in. He said, let's on three, and that totally messed me up because I can't wait for somebody else to say three. When the shot is right, you take the shot. You know when it's right. You feel it.
Yeah.
There's no thought. It's just it's there. It's time to shoot. The shot goes off. And when somebody says wait until I say three, I was all messed up.
You can also run in place for about 30 seconds really fast. Get that heart rate right up. Run in place. Then pick up your bow and calm yourself down with your heart rate up to make a shot. That's a very good practice. If you're by yourself in your backyard, you can jog around the house. I just run in place. I want to get that rate up, just like that feeling of that bear coming in. Bear hunting is like, everything's like for hours. Like, yeah. Oh, jeez, he's right there. Where the hell did he come from? And boom, 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 boom. Okay, you've done this before. I've ran in place before. I've calmed it down by taking the breaths. Breathing is the most important thing to calming that down. Run in place, learn to shoot, revved up, calm yourself down. That's very good practice for deer hunting and bear hunting and turkey. Anything you're going to shoot at.
Daniel, what else you got?
Well, what you just said right there, that running in place and it's kind of practice how you hunt. One of the things that we see all too often is a lot of folks sitting in their back, they'll shoot 20 yards, and then they'll go out, they'll go in their tree stand, and they'll think that translates, that 20-yard backyard practice translates into a tree stand shot when you've got, Mr. 8 Point come walking out at you. It's not the same.
No, it's not. It works. Backyard shooting will work on your form from your waist up, getting your shoulders in alignment. If I were to take an archer at full draw and laid an arrow along his shoulder blades, that arrow should be running parallel with the arrow that's on the bow, and not this way or that way, because that's not in alignment form. So you can work on that at 20 yards at home. Work on your shot sequence. Work on your shot. But you have to practice from tree stands that you're going to be using at the height you normally do, and take yourself a 3D target, put it out there, climb that tree, and make a few shots. You got to do that. You got to practice that. It's like, oh wow, if I sit like this bow limb is hitting my knee. I better not do that. I better move that stand around this way more. So I automatically know that's my kill zone. I've had my stand a certain way. It might not be 90 degrees. It's probably going to be over more because I like to shoot it like this versus like this. So you have to practice that to know. You don't want to get screwed up when you're hunting and say, oh, wow, this armrest is hitting. I can't shoot that deer. I have to stand up, and I can't stand up because I got 3 more right here. It was because you didn't practice that. You didn't know that was going to happen. You didn't use the right tree stand. Use something that's hunter friendly, something that you can shoot all around you without banging on the whatever. But you got to practice that.
Yeah, you can shoot. Shooting on the range, you've got all the room in the world to move your feet around and spread your legs and get a stable position. But in a tree stand, you have a little platform about that big. So if you're going to hunt for a tree stand, get a car, take the floor mat out of your car and stand on that.
It's all about your shoulder alignment to the target. And I can be sitting there twisted around like this, but I get my shoulders in alignment and I know I'm going to make a nice straight shot. It's all about that. And to do that, you have to have your length a little bit shorter on your hunting bow. And then you got to practice that. Is it too short now? Is it too long still? You got to practice those genuine hunting angle shots and get that draw length perfect. And the peep sight height wants to be a little taller because people wear face masks and light gloves when it starts getting cold. I set my peep sight on my hunting bow wearing a thin face mask and my thin gloves. I want that to be there and the peep right there. So I practice in the summer. If I don't have my gloves on, it's a little bit floaty, but I know I'm there because I know when in hunt season, it's going to be perfect. If you don't do that, you come back to full draw and go, where the hell's my peep? It's way down here now. You're scrunched. Now you just made a bad shot because you didn't practice right using the gear that you're going to be hunting with.
Well, I think I'm going to put you both on the spot before we close it out here and see if we can't put our heads together and possibly come up with a bow hunters clinic. Maybe we can hold it down there in southern Maine somewhere. Chris, if you can't think of a place for us to hold it,
well, I did that at Lakeside.
Maybe
2 years ago. I did that at Lakeside. I took because I hunt around there, so I took. There was about 6 or 8 guys and I didn't charge a thing. I wouldn't do that again for free, but I didn't. I wanted to see what I took them out to the actual hunting with my tree stand and with my bow and everything else, and the habits and where they're bedding and where they're traveling and why and with the wind general, all that hunting clinic stuff. Great idea. I think I should have held more. But I'm so damn busy. Every weekend I'm shooting somewhere or doing something. It's hard to find the time. And plus I'm working still. Even though I'm retired, I'm still working. But Bowhunter Clinic, I would be more than happy to host one. And I just love to teach. I just love to get back to the sport.
What he said.
Well, yeah, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again and again and again. You're my mentor. You're the one that really got me started down my archery path, and
so
for that I can't thank you enough. And well, yeah, but
like years ago, man.
to have it was quite a long time ago. And I can't think of anything better to have you and Bob get together with me somewhere and putting on a clinic. I think that'd be a great thing.
Yeah, sure. I would travel anywhere in the state. I don't have to be at Lakeside. I can be anywhere. Wherever you guys come up with there, I'll be more than happy to be there.
Bob's right around the corner from you, and so it would be easy for the 2 of you to get together at Lakeside, and it wouldn't be too much of a problem for you to come down. I think if we could possibly put something together there, I think it'd be fantastic.
All right. So if there's people out there on the site who are interested, put something in the comments. If we get enough comments, if it looks like there's enough interest, we'll set something up.
Give some feedback, people. Let us know what you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
People hit
Well,
me
Bob,
up on
Chris,
messaging.
thank you so much. It's been
You're cutting out again on us.
that's the thing.
Almost made it the whole way. He's frozen again, Bob.
Yeah.
Welcome
to Maine.
I'll let you close it out, Bob.
All right. Well, I already thank Chris profusely. I think the information that you provided tonight is just invaluable. I think it's going to be very helpful to folks out there. And if we can do something again, whether it's out in the field or back on here, that would be great, because you're a tremendous resource and we appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you all.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
And with
Have a
that,
great night, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you again.
see ya.
With me
Good
after
night.
we close out.